I fired one shot at my victim. Um, After that, I froze up for a second, and then I just ran straight for my son, who was still sitting on the counter at this time, ran back to where he was, grabbed him, and I just ran out of the store.
Begin with new details as police arrest a woman accused of shooting and killing a Davenport mother at a Chuck E. Cheese restaurant in Davenport. 24-year-old Treshonda P of Davenport charged with first-degree murder. Police were called to that Chuck E. Cheese just after 7:30 last night. When they arrived, they found 29-year-old Eloise Chair's shot. She later died at the hospital. News 8's Shelby Kluver spoke with Chair's family about what they say happened that night.
Kids and parents rushed outside the Davenport Chuck E. Cheese Sunday night. Police say a shooting inside claimed the life of 29-year-old Eloise Chairs. Her family telling News 8, Eloise was a mother of 5, including a 4-week-old infant. According to her family, Eloise got into an argument with another mother at Chuck E. Cheese over their children's game cards. And that's when they say another woman pulled a gun. Police later arresting 24-year-old Treshonda P.
We are about to watch the parole hearing of a woman who took a mother of 5's lives in a Chuck E. Cheese. And as we see, nothing good seems to happen at these Chuck E. Cheese crime events. Now, she took a plea deal of a 10-year mandatory sentence, and she took this deal in 2021. Yet, less than 3 years later, she is somehow up for parole. I'll unpack it with the details at the end.
Good morning, Ms. Polian. Can you give us your full name and your number, please, to get us started?
Yes, Treshonda P 667-1696.
Thank you so much. And have you been in front of the Board of Parole before?
No.
Okay. I'm going to read you a script and get us kicked off, and then I'll tell you how it's going to work, okay? So what you have in front of you today is your 3-member panel of the Board of Parole that's going to make your decision. You'll see myself, Renee Schulte, and to my side, you'll see Susie Wynot, and the other side, you'll see Jesse Rincon. And before we get started, we just want to remind you that this is a public hearing, the Zoom that you're on, meaning that the public and the media could be listening, but they're not going to participate, okay? But in that confidential conversation, we just want to remind you that we might be asking you questions that include things like your medical history, your mental health history, your treatment history. Are you okay with going ahead with your interview today?
Yes, I am.
All right, thank you. And so the way it's going to work is the 3 of us are just going to ask you some questions. We just ask you to be brief and to tell us what we're asking for. You don't have to worry about it, not a big thing. Then after we're done with questions, it's your turn. And you could say anything you want us to know, maybe something you prepared, something you want us to know. The floor will be yours. Then after that, you'll go into what we call deliberation or the decision-making time. You'll see us and hear us, but it won't be time for you to talk. And then at the very end, I come back with our decision for today. Does that sound okay?
Yes.
All right. So to kick us off, to get us started, can you talk to us about what was happening at the time of your life when the crime was committed and about the crime itself?
Yes. So I was going through a pretty rough time in my life, but I just want to say really quick, just to be transparent, that I'm not trying to excuse or justify anything that happened on the day of my crime. But 5 months prior to my crime, I had lost my mother to cancer, and it was a rough time. Me and my family had just 1 year prior had lost my sister as well, and then 1 year before that, I had lost my brother. So I lost 3 family members in a short period of time, and when I lost my mom, it was devastating. And I should have sought professional help. I should have got counseling, but I chose not to. I thought that I would be able to get through it on my own. I tried to focus on taking care of my son, who I was a single mother to at the time. He was 1.5 years old. And I just tried to work. And yeah, I just tried to suppress my emotions and my feelings and how I felt. And it didn't pan out good. As far as the day of my crime, would you like me to go through what happened on that day?
Yes, please.
Okay, so the day that this happened, my friend had reached out and asked if me and my son wanted to join her at the Chuck E. Cheese, her and her 3 children, and I agreed. I met her and her children at the Chuck E. Cheese. We were there for about an hour when we were approached by my victim. My victim came up to my friend and said that my friend's son stole her son's game pass. So they exchanged some words about that. They went to the front of the Chuck E. Cheese, and maybe about after a few minutes, I could hear yelling from the front of the Chuck E. Cheese, and it was my friend and my victim. At this point, I chose to go to the front of the store. At this point, I chose to go to the front of the store just to see like what was going on. I get to the front of the store, the manager is standing in between my friend and my victim. They continue, like I said, to go back and forth, and then my victim started to poke my friend in the head. So at this point, I felt like I needed to intervene. And, I just said to my victim, like, hey, just leave her alone. I shouldn't have done that. It wasn't my place. My friend is an adult. She's capable of standing up for herself. But in that moment, I felt obligated to, I guess, stick up for her. And then that's when me and my victim began to argue. We were going back and forth with each other, and then my victim's boyfriend approached the situation as well. And at this time, I began to argue with both my victim and my victim boyfriend. Going back and forth, with each other. We're both on both sides yelling, cursing, that sort of thing. I definitely had ample opportunity at that time to remove myself from the situation, and I didn't. I continued to engage with both my victim's boyfriend, and then my victim threatened to beat me up. And at this time, I had my son in my arms. When I thought it was going to get to a physical point, I set my son down on the counter. Again, I could have walked away, but instead I chose to sit him down, and because I thought it was about to get physical. At the time, I had my gun license and I had a permit to carry, so it wasn't uncommon for me to have my gun in my possession. It was in my purse, and I pulled my gun out to the side of me, and pulled my gun out, and my victim says, you're not gonna do anything with that. And she comes towards me and she punches me. So we began to exchange punches. I still have my gun in one hand, and we're exchanging punches. We're tussling over my gun. We're tussling for a couple of minutes, and she went to reach for my gun, and I fired one shot at my victim. Um, After that, I froze up for a second, and then I just ran straight for my son, who was still sitting on the counter at this time, ran back to where he was, grabbed him, and I just ran out of the store, and I got in the car and I left. I just want to say that I want to take accountability, first of all, though, because there was plenty of things that I could have done different to where that wasn't the outcome. I should have never intervened. Like I said, my friend was an adult. She's capable of standing up for herself. I should have never intervened in a situation that was clearly already getting out of control. I could have, called 911. Hey, there's a situation going on here. Can you guys send somebody out? Type of thing. And even when I did get involved, I didn't have to continue to engage. I could have simply grabbed my stuff. Hey, this is the silly, the argument started over a Chuck E. Cheese game pass, something so trivial, something so minuscule, and it was so silly. But I allowed my emotions to consume me to the point where I was not thinking logically. I didn't take into consideration, my child, my victim's child, all the other families and the children that were there that day as well. I didn't take that into consideration. I made a choice to continue to argue with my victim, and it got to a physical point, and it got out of control.
Thank you. I appreciate your detailed statement and your accountability. I appreciate that. So we're going to ask a few more questions, okay? So it looks as though you've had some mental health challenges in the past. Can you talk to me kind of how you're dealing with your mental health now? How's that going? Kind of where are you in that process?
Yes, so since being here at ICIW, I have met with the psychologist on site a number of times, kind of talked through just all of my life before coming to prison, since I've been incarcerated, as well as talked to my pastor. I know he's not like a licensed therapist, but that's counseling for me. To get through some of the traumatic experiences that I've been through. Almost 4 years later, I'm in a much better spot than I was before I came to prison. Because again, I was not dealing with what I was going through at the time. So now that since I've been here and, gone through counseling, I'll continue to do counseling, and I would like to continue to do counseling if I am released. Yeah, I'm in a much better place. I'm just continuing to work on me, continue healing from everything.
Okay. All right. And then was there a history of substance use through this too, or no?
I have used marijuana. So around the time my mom passed away, I did start to use marijuana.
Okay, so were you using on the day of the crime? Was that part of what was going on?
I had smoked marijuana that morning.
Okay. All right. Well, thank you for answering my questions. I'm going to turn it over to my colleagues now, okay? You're doing a nice job. Just keep going.
Okay, thank you.
Yes, your question.
Yeah, I do. I only have a few. Like Renee said, you're doing a really good job answering thoroughly. Actually, you answered a bunch of the questions I had. It sounds as though you did some really worthy programming while incarcerated. What accomplishment have you made so far while incarcerated that makes you most proud?
I would say probably choosing to go back to school. I've been a DMAC student since 2022, and I'm just 17 credits short of finishing my associates. I would say that's my biggest accomplishment, just because I really have learned a lot of things going back to school. So I would say that is my biggest accomplishment.
That's good. Do you know what you want to study?
I would like, well, it's just for a liberal arts here, that's what they offer here. But once I receive that, I do want to go on to maybe do a business administration bachelor's degree.
Very good. Very good. Thank you. My last question for you is, who is your support system outside right now?
So I have my father, who I'm very close to. He's been there through my entire incarceration. I have my father. We talk on a daily, we have visits, video visits, all of that. I also have my Aunt Karen, which is my father's sister. And then I have my oldest brother, Tony.
Perfect. Thank you so much. I appreciate you answering questions I did have very much. Have a good day.
Okay, thank you.
All right, thanks, Josie. Suzie, did you have questions?
Yes, thank you, Renee. Good morning, Ms. Paulion. How are you?
Hi, I'm a little nervous.
Well, that's to be expected.
Yes, thank you.
I was listening to everything you said, and I want to go back to the crime.
Okay.
When you went through active, is that where you were able to see your reactionary? Okay, I see your head nodding yes. So can you tell us a little bit about that, what you learned about being reactive?
Yeah, so in active, I learned how to manage my emotions and my feelings, which is clearly something that I struggle with. I learned to recognize when, I'm having strong emotions such as anger. Like those early warning signs, noticing, like those bodily sensations, rapid heartbeat, sweaty palms, pacing back and forth. I'm having destructive thoughts, hey, I want to do something to this person. If I'm able to recognize those things ahead of time, I can make a decision to reel it back and do things that's going to move me away from those emotions, whether it's going for a walk, counting to 10, listening to music, reading a book, whatever it is going to get me to a level that I'm able to make sound decisions. It's not about getting rid of anger because anger is a natural response. However, it's about effectively dealing with those emotions and not letting yourself spiral out of control and get to a point where you're displaying destructive behaviors.
All right, thank you. I appreciate that answer. I don't have anything else. Thank you, Renee.
All right, thank you. So now's the time, Ms. Polion. Is there anything you'd like to tell us, or maybe things we forgot to ask that you want us to know? The floor is yours.
Well, I have prepared a victim statement.
Okay.
So I would like to read that. It says, I want to say to my victim's family that there are no words created by man that will compensate for your hurt and your pain. But I would still like to say that I am truly sorry. I'm sorry that my immature, irresponsible, and impulsive decisions led to the loss of your loved one. I made a grave error in judgment, and I reacted very poorly in the moment. I have spent the past almost 4 years reflecting on what I could have done differently to where the outcome was not this one. There were many things I could have done different, but I chose not to. My poor decisions and actions that day led to something that I could never take back. All I can do is stand before you and take accountability for what I have done, let you know how sorry I really am, and pray that you may one day forgive me. It's not a day that goes by that I do not think about what happened and how my actions led to an entire family left in grief and sorrow. I wish that I could take it all back. I neglected my duty as a mother and as a responsible adult to act appropriately and with sense that day. I hope there is some peace for you all, knowing that I am sincerely remorseful and sorry. So that was what I wanted to read to them. To you all, I would like to just say thank you for this opportunity. Thank you for meeting me face to face to see who I am beyond the number. And I just appreciate you guys' time.
All right. Is there anything else?
I think that is all.
Okay. And Seth, can you give us your recommendation, please, for what we're doing today?
Yeah, so our recommendation was for parole to Beacon, which is a diversion for her, in an effort to be closer to her son.
Okay. Thank you so much. Colleagues, anybody would like to go first? Your thoughts?
I can go first. I think she had an excellent interview. The way she described her active treatment was textbook. She picked up exactly what a facilitator would hope. So I am in favor of the DOC recommendation of parole into the Beacon of Life with the codes PGD3, 10C, the 48 with mental health, the substance abuse, and also I had a 58 because of the age of 20.
Okay. Susie.
Yeah, I found her to be very articulate, a lot of insight here. She's had time to slow down and focus on herself. I see self-growth. She understands what it, she took on someone else's issue, made it her own, and then reacted. And in this instance, it turned out to be fatal for someone else. I appreciated her statement. And I also am going to support the department's recommendation. I think it's a good plan. PGD 310C to the Beacon of Life in Des Moines. I'm looking at mental health, medication compliance, substance abuse, a 50A, and I would, because of the crime, entertain a 20B.
Okay. What do you think about a 20B, Jeff?
Yeah, I'm fine with that. Thank you.
Okay, we're all in agreement. All right, Ms. Polion, so you heard our discussion. So what we're going to do today is we are going to be paroling you to the Beacon of Life, okay? So you did a really nice job. You heard everybody say you took accountability. You've done really well with your time, you're getting your education and all of those things. So you've done a really nice job. So moving you forward, we're going to give you a few extra codes just to help you along the way. One, you're gonna have a 20B. That means you're gonna be on paper through the end of your time with us. So that means we will be able to track you, but you won't have to come back and see us again unless you get in trouble. And we really, really don't want that.
No,
We're gonna give you some treatment codes to help you as well. We're gonna ask you just to check on your mental health and continue that in that space. Also, continue with your substance use work that you've been doing. And then finally, your medication compliance. And I just want to say with medication, it doesn't mean that you have to stay on the one that you're on, but it does require that you talk to somebody else before starting making changes on that. Okay, so you don't have to be on medication forever if that's not your plan, but just do that thoughtfully along with the professional so that you don't do anything that causes issues for you down the road. And then last but not least, we're going to have a 50A, which is an alcohol prohibition. You shouldn't be drinking it, especially on the medications you're on, but we don't want you hanging out places where it's primarily sold. So places like liquor stores and bars that don't serve food. Does this all sound okay with you?
yes, ma'am.
All right, congratulations. Go out and do good, okay?
Thank you so much.
Wish
Thank
you well.
Wish you well.
Thank you.
This hearing is crazy, and it's something that we see. It's like an epidemic. It's a serious problem in Iowa. It drives me nuts. Now, I'll go through the unpacking of this, and maybe if you're not there yet, you can come over to my side. First, let me just start with what I thought was incredibly wrong with the hearing. I listened to this like 4 or 5 times, and I take notes, right? If you're just listening it in passing or you're multitasking, it might I wouldn't blame you if it flew by without kind of. But the serious problems I have with this case. Now, keep in mind, she was initially charged with first-degree murder. Then she took a plea deal for what was it, involuntary manslaughter, and the judge was not happy with what she said, and he postponed the sentencing. So some of that context might help as well. Um, Although I didn't read that until after I took my notes, I just want to say. But in her statement that she gives the parole board, what she says are the 3 things that she learned that she shouldn't have done to avoid killing a mother of 5 in front of her kids in a Chuck E. Cheese, in front of her child as well, was 1, should never have gotten involved. 2, should have called the cops. And then 3, by the time I got involved, it became physical and it went out of control. At no point did she say, I shouldn't have pulled my gun and shot her. You can hear from the words that she's saying that she actually believes still that she was justified. And then the parole board answered the same thing. They said, wow, you really have great insight. You learned a lot. You learned what not to do. And they repeated what she had said. Again, they never said, you pulled a gun out. You pulled a gun on a mother of 5 in a Chuck E. Cheese full of kids. What are you doing? That was the problem. It's just crazy. If I'm at a Chuck E. Cheese with my friend and I think a kid stole my friend's kid's game pass, I might try to get involved in some way, but I'm not pulling a gun. I mean, it's pretty clear in my mind. We see this with people who pull guns and kill other people, that they know they have a gun and they're on an ego trip and they're going to show them. And they go in there being like, yeah, I'm going to do it. And it's crazy that she literally, she put her child, her little baby, down on the counter, pulled out her gun, then claims that the victim said, you're not going to use that, which I haven't seen anywhere in writing. She shoots the victim in the head, picks up her child and leaves. But nowhere does she state that that was a mistake. She also, in my opinion, is completely dishonest. Oh yeah. Oh, do you do any drugs, or do you? Oh yeah. I started smoking. After my mother died. Uh-huh. Sure. You know, she has 5 prior arrests to this. 5. They don't bring that up once. I mean, when you're arrested 5 times before you then kill someone, oh yeah, no, it's just wrong place, wrong time. She shouldn't have intervened. She starts off with, I'm not going to blame it on this, but I had 3 members that family members that passed away. And it's like, yeah, you know, that is tragic. You would be going through a lot. I could understand that as an excuse for your life completely tanking. You have every excuse to be going through hell. But that makes no sense as an excuse to whip a gun out at Chuck E. Cheese and kill someone. Because one is what the reason for you going through something really bad, but the way you react to that doesn't make any sense. And the parole board doesn't call her out on any of it. On the contrary, that was a great interview. This parole board is dangerous. And it's with being able to watch how other parole boards act, starting with Louisiana, even in Connecticut, how they make crazy decisions, but at least they get in there and they get under the hood most of the time. Here it's just like, yeah, you're great. And they're only reaffirming I believe her belief in her innocence. They actually said that, you know, oh, yeah, you'll know next time not to get involved in these things. Now let's just go over what the judge said, because, you know, who cares what I say? Let's just listen to the judge. Remember, this is the sentencing at 2021. At the time of this recording, at the time of this parole hearing, which is June 2024, it's barely, you know, okay, so sentencing was postponed Friday. Let's see if I can get this a little bit. I hate these stupid, okay. Was postponed Friday for Davenport woman accused of fatally shooting woman in the Davenport Chuck E. Cheese after a judge said he was not comfortable accepting the plea agreement. And on that note, you notice that there was no victim there. Now, I found news, believe me, there are victims in this case. There are many victims that are really pissed off that she had 5 kids. She had a lot of family, that they didn't show up, and nor did they mention a victim anywhere. Is my belief that they simply, this is just speculation, that they didn't reach out. The victim has no idea that this happened. That's my opinion. For some reason, they couldn't get in touch with the victims. I doubt they have any clue this happened. This parole hearing. Now, Treshonda P 25, pleaded guilty, in April to voluntary manslaughter, Class C felony, punishable by 10 years in prison, in the death of 29-year-old. She was charged with second-degree murder. Oh, I said first word second. On Friday, Judge Henry Latham said that he had concerns about comments she made about her innocence in pre-sentence investigation. A pre-sentence investigation includes formation about the defendant's family, education, employment, health, and criminal history to help the judge determine an appropriate sentence. I don't make it a habit of sentencing people that make a statement that they are pleading guilty to something they shouldn't, he said during a short hearing held over Zoom. To me, that indicates that I am sentencing someone that is claiming they're not guilty of the offense that they had pled guilty to. I have a problem with that. My job is not to sentence innocent people or that claim they have a defense to a crime. Now, the attorney, Motto, said he spoke to her ahead of Friday's hearing, said she understands her plea, that he did not think she meant to imply that she was innocent. And yet here it is. I mean, without saying she was innocent, she simply said what she wishes she had done differently, and it was she never once said shooting her. I think she was simply stating her reasons for why she accepted the plea, which was lesser included of what she was charged with. He added, she understands what she pled to, and she's taking responsibility for it. At the end of the hearing, Latham agreed to continue the sentencing hearing to July 9th and granted Mando's request to add an addendum to pre-sentence investigation. The Davenport police officers dispatched around 7:38 October 25th to Chuck E. Cheese, where they found Cheers with a gunshot wound. She was transported to the hospital and pronounced dead less than an hour later. Police interviewed numerous witnesses who said the argument took place between Cheers and others at the restaurant. Police learned the argument surrounded a game card that was possibly stolen. A witness told police that she and Cheers argued over the game card and that the argument was momentarily broken up. A second argument began moments later between Pauline and the woman's friends and Cheers about the card. The manager tried breaking up the fight, and Cheers exchanged punches. The fight continued over by the prize area where a man who was with Cheers got involved. The woman who first argued with Cheers said she saw Pauline with a gun in her hand and heard Cheers yell that she had a gun. Then they began to tussle, and a woman said she heard a gunshot. The woman told police that Pauline was the person who shot Cheers before leaving the restaurant. She was initially charged with first-degree murder. Okay, I am right about that. The prosecutors amended the charge to second-degree murder. December, Scott County, And then, here's the sentencing. Woman is sentenced to 10 years in prison in Chuck E. Cheese. You know, how many times have we done a Chuck E. Cheese hearing? 6 or 7 now. It's like become a meme for these parole hearings. Davenport woman was sentenced to 10 years in prison Friday in a fatal shooting, which was sparked by an argument over a game card. She pled guilty to voluntary manslaughter. She was originally charged with first degree. Her plea included a 10-year mandatory sentence. Mandatory. Again, this is part of, you might call it bad reporting, or you call it manipulation by the district attorney's office. I don't know what you want to call it, but it's clearly not 10 years. Witnesses told police that the others, I mean, she's been locked up for, she took the sentence of 3 years. I don't know if she made bond. But I don't think, yeah, she's been locked up for at most, I think, 3 years. After that argument, Pauline wants to argue, blah, blah, blah. Pauline had a gun and fired one shot, hitting her. I don't know if I've ever seen a more senseless crime than this one, Scott County Judge John Tellin said during the sentencing hearing. Cheers' mother, Angela Cheers, during the hearing that Cheers' children's lives had dramatically changed. No kidding. In that moment when he shot her, you stopped everything. I just can't believe this nightmare. I just don't understand how you can just walk up and shoot somebody. But it's like that she doesn't matter. It's like her kids don't matter. It's like everyone that is killed does not matter. How can you take a life in this way? And we've seen, there are so many instances that have made national television where there are shootings that should never have occurred, where the person then gets sentenced to 50 years because it's a media thing. And here, a mother takes another mother's life in front of her 5 children in a Chuck E. Cheese, and then she gets pat on the back when she would literally just, it's like, show up, here's my pulse, I have a pulse, okay, here's parole. 7 years before her mandatory sentence completes. She's dangerous. I mean, she's clearly dangerous. Someone who can take someone's life and still in her mind believe that she's innocent. And I don't know, I have nothing else. I don't know how, obviously it wasn't a mandatory sentence. Her good time date was 5/13/2025. Okay, she was incarcerated 7/20/2021. So the article was wrong, or something was wrong. Now, her other crimes, if you were curious about that, thank you, Rich, for all this info. She was arrested in 2012, arrested in 2015, arrested in 2016, arrested in 2017, and arrested in 2018 before this final crime in 2020. Now, the arrests weren't, huge stuff. It was in 2012, it was expired registration. In 2015, it was a safety belt. In 2016, it was speeding. In 2017, it was not having insurance. In 2018 it was, but keep in mind, we all get tickets driving, right? Not arrested. These are arrested. This is getting cuffed. This is getting booked. So they drop the charges. They do plea deals on this. That there's something else going on when you get arrested. There's something else going on. You don't just get arrested 5 times. So, you got to read between the lines, in my opinion, through that stuff. But anyways, here you have it. Iowa is a dangerous place. In my opinion, these parole board members, there's something going on. And I do believe that one day that certain people are going to see these hearings up here and they're going to flip out and there's going to be change. I also believe, and sadly, I'm going to predict this, that we're probably going to record a disaster before it happens with one of these parole hearings. Anyways, with that, I'll let you go.
Jesus, 352060.
This hearing is being conducted in consideration of the report application for Jonathan DeJesus, 352060. He is serving a total effective sentence of 20 years jail, execution suspended after 8 years jail, followed by 5 years probation for manslaughter first. As of today, records reflect the parole eligibility of July 14, 2024. There is no victim input in this case. There is an offender probability plan that has been reviewed and shows that the offender has completed voices. Utilizing the statewide collaborative offender risk evaluation system, the offender's overall score on the RP falls within the low range of risk for recidivism. Mr. DeJesus, this is your opportunity to express to the board why you believe you should be granted parole. You may.
What was that? Sorry.
You may begin. You may start to express why you believe you should be granted parole.
I really don't have a big story. I would like to say that I've grown a lot since, my incarceration. I've learned a lot. I ended up finding a lot of support, within friends and family, that has been trying to help me. And has been there for me, to help me through the process. Because, I've been away for quite some time. I've also, I've lost a lot of family members also. And, I've realized that I'm getting older and, a lot of things can't be the same. I can't keep, coming back and forth to jail and stuff like that. And, with a lot of the goals that I have set for me now, I feel like can, really show the kind of person that I've become or still would like to become in the future. Like one of my goals is to become a recovery coach, to help others that deal with addictions and stuff like that. That seems to be a reason why I lost a lot of family members, and I have a lot of family that are actually addicts. And I feel like with me turning to that career, that maybe I can help them or help others also, and that could be like a way of me giving back, so it's regardless, that's kind of something that I wanted to push towards once I get out, and I feel like they can always use somebody that can share experiences and speak to people that need somebody, that don't have somebody, to help them or care for them in that way. I don't really have a lot of reasons on why you should let me out other than you have faith in me to think that maybe I can change or deserve a chance, Right now, I feel like that's in your hands. I would appreciate it though, the thought that I would go home and be able to succeed or do good enough you know, to maintain outside, especially with how hard times are now. I know I made a lot of mistakes. You know, I just haven't had guidance or anything like that, I feel, you know, and I spent a lot of my younger years in jail, you know, and now I'm soon to be 37 in a week or two, you know, I'm tired of it, you know, and I regret a lot of it, you know, and I want you to know that I will try and find the perfect way, if there is a perfect way to be. I would like to apologize to the family of the victim in this case, you know, because I know it hurts to lose someone, but it must hurt on another level to have someone taken from them from stupidity or an act like this in this case. I'm sorry, I'm jumpy and I'm like nervous.
That's okay.
There's no real way to apologize or express sympathy in a matter like this, you know, because you know, I can imagine how it is to have a son or anyone taken. I truly do regret this. I have sought help since I've been down, like incarcerated. I was getting a lot of help in Cheshire from the pastor. You know, he would speak with me a lot, and to talk to me, for me to basically understand the difference between losing someone and having someone taken. And you know, I've never been a violent person, you know, so this case has, you know, bothered a lot. Like it's been a while since I was able to sleep or anything like that. Just the thought of it, you know, because I've felt so bad and, you know, regretted it. But for the most part, those are just the things that I'm really focusing on. I've really been trying to find a way to be able to apologize or go about the right way to at least try and give back and apologize towards the
Mr. Jesus, you've done a lot of apologizing already. Can you, and I don't want to stop your statement, but can you focus in on those things that you think you've done that will give us a reason why we should consider your discretionary parole today? Things, accomplishments that you've made since you've been in?
Other than programs like on Voices, I've completed Voices in Cheshire. I was told that was one of the first steps that I should have taken. So I finished that when I was in Cheshire.
I mean, we can start with some questioning if you want, and then maybe that'll help spark some more information. Would that be helpful?
Yeah.
Okay. Why don't we do that? So that's what we're going to do now. The panel's going to ask you some questions, and when we're done, we're going to discuss your case and let you know what our answer is. Okay.
Yes.
And I'm going to start out with panel member Turner.
Morning, sir. Good afternoon. So, when did you know you had a hearing?
Excuse me?
When did you know about today's hearing?
A week and a half ago, 2 weeks ago, I believe.
Okay.
I could be off.
Did you give any thought to preparing a statement?
I was putting my mind to it. I was thinking about stuff, but it's by myself in here. I kind of mentally is hard for me to like write and things like that alone.
Okay, I'm only asking because you know, it was meandering. You seemed unprepared. The fact that the only program you've completed is Voices, and you didn't begin your opening statement with an apology for taking the life of another person was, you know, you kind of stumbled into your apology after talking for quite some time. So it just surprised me that you weren't better prepared for this. But we can proceed from there. So I want to make sure you understand, Mr. DeJesus, you aren't eligible until the middle of July for discretionary parole release. And your end of sentence appears to be August of 2025. So we have to make a decision today about whether it's appropriate for you to finish the 8 years you have to serve out in the community, and we have to do that in light of the interests of public safety. So you realize you have 12 years of this sentence hanging over your head when you go out to the 5 years of probation?
Yes.
Okay, so you violate the probation and you could be made to serve that 12 years. It's just held in suspension.
Yes.
Okay. So, you know, I would agree with you. Your criminal history doesn't show that you are a violent person, but this incident was incredibly concerning, what you and your co-defendants did, because you laid in wait for this opportunity to attack these people in their car. You were on probation at the time, sir?
Excuse me? Yes, I was
You were
on
on probation at the time?
Yes.
Okay. And you've been given 5 opportunities out in the community on supervision, and you've been unsuccessful 3 times. This is your 3rd period of incarceration, correct?
Yes, and I've also always completed parole.
You've
Without
accumulated 9 disciplinary tickets. Why didn't you think it was important to take tier 4?
I was trying to start a process to become a recovery coach. I was trying to get insight, and so I can understand and just see if maybe I had addict issues
But the
and stuff.
recovery coach is not on your OAP. Addiction Services put you in tier 4. Why didn't you think it was important to finish tier 4?
They didn't put me in there. I asked to sign up for that.
It was on your OAP to have the evaluation, and with the drug score 4, they put you in OAP in tier 4. But why didn't you think it was important to complete it?
I made a mistake and got kicked out. I didn't not want to complete it.
Okay, but you've continued to make that same mistake since being removed from the program. Why are you in prison smoking marijuana?
I shouldn't be. There's no answer for that.
You shouldn't. Yeah. Have you ever asked to get in tier 2?
Yes, twice.
And what are they saying to you?
I got we'll respond to you when there's room, and then on one request there was no response. And this was right after tier 4.
Aside from smoking pot in prison, how else are you spending your time?
Spending my time. Well, right now I've just been building my relationship with my son and exercising and just trying to stay out of trouble. I try to stay to myself. I haven't been trying to get in trouble or anything.
In your opening statement, you've learned a lot. What have you done to educate yourself?
I read. I mean, I do a lot of reading. I got a lot of books.
You don't have your GED though, right?
Books. No, I don't. I was in the learning center my whole life. I suffer from, like, I have issues when it comes to learning and understanding and comprehending at the moment. So it's like my whole life I've always had to sit down and like
you need support.
Yeah,
which is why it would be perfect for you to be working on your GED there in the facility.
There's no way I would have the help I need here educationally. There's literally 2 teachers here one
Have you
work
tried in
here.
either of your prior times in prison?
Excuse me?
Have you been enrolled in school in the 2 prior times you've been in prison?
Yes, I have.
Did you
Yes,
make any
I've
progress
enrolled
on?
twice.
Did you make any progress on getting a GED?
The first time I didn't have enough time. And even now, if I was to sign up now, the teacher, she said it would take me almost 3 years to get my GED here alone. They don't have the
You gotta
teachers
start
and the help I
sometime.
need.
You gotta start sometime, Mr. DeJesus. Why not start now? You're not
Because they don't have
eligible
the
until
help I
July.
need. The help I need, they don't have. I don't learn like everyone else, miss. I suffer.
I can appreciate that, but I don't believe that they wouldn't be able to work with you. And then you said you didn't finish the first time, but then you could have gone out into the community and continued that work, and you didn't.
Yeah, because when I went home, I had to go right to work. When I went home, I had 2 jobs. When I got in trouble and caught and violated probation and came back to jail, I was working 2 jobs at the time.
Okay, well, you were working at Taylor Rentals in 2015 and 2016. What was your other job?
I was a mechanic at a garage.
You have a
Stratford
license?
Ave in Bridgeport.
Do you have a
No,
mechanic's license?
No.
So you were at Taylor Rentals 9 years ago, and you think you're going to go back there?
They're waiting. Yes, they would love me back. They would love me back. I'm actually in touch still with the boss, with the manager, Kimberly. She still writes me, and she talks to my family, and she's actually waiting for me.
So as
They
a
got a spy
CCAR
orange.
recovery coach, when you finish that program, what are you going to tell people you're helping about your own use of marijuana? Are you going to stop at some point?
I don't feel I need it anymore. It went from recreational to I don't need that to move forward. It's not something that I'm gonna be seeking when I go home or anything like that.
Okay, but when's the last time you used in prison?
Almost a month ago.
And why did you use then?
I was celebrating New Year's.
Do you think you have an addiction, sir?
I guess yes. I mean, I don't feel I do, but because of history for me using, I would say yes. I would tell someone yes.
Well, we got there. So what's your plan for living clean and sober when you're back in the community?
Well, with the classes I'll be taking to get certified from CCAR and being a recovery coach, that's gonna help a long way. And with that, I feel my own coach, through training from that. So, I mean, I'm pretty sure it'd be a right way to help or get my own advice.
You've never done treatment in a community before, right?
No.
Have you ever done NA meetings, AA meetings?
Yes. Lots of times.
What, do you find that helpful?
Yes, it helps. Yes, I believe so. It's helped me once or twice, yes.
What's the longest you've been clean?
Huh?
What's the longest clean time you've ever had? Because oftentimes people in your position will tell us it's right now while I'm here in prison, but that's not the case for you. So what's your longest clean time?
I've gone a year without smoking weed or drinking at all or anything. I've gone time without it. I don't do it like I
take me
need
back
it.
to that year. Why did you decide not to use?
my fiance was pregnant. She had the baby, so I didn't feel the need, you know. I didn't want it around. I didn't want cigarettes. I didn't want marijuana, drinking, nothing. So we was just trying to really do the right thing as parents.
Do you think
So we
that your
just took a break.
marijuana use has caused you any problems?
No, I wouldn't say so, no.
Okay,
the
I'm gonna
world?
try really hard, Mr. DeJesus, not to laugh at that answer. How many DRs have you gotten?
Oh, in jail, I was referring to in the world. I didn't know if I thought we was,
It was a global question.
all right, then I think it caused me trouble then, yes.
I respect that you want to help others, but you need to get your own house in order, sir. Do you know what that means? Do you know what I'm
Yes.
talking about?
Yes.
Yeah. So you had a year of clean time. Why do you think you use? Outside of prison, when you're in the community, why do you use?
Recreational.
So you smoke for fun. And this was before it became legal, because it's been legal since it's been legalized since you've been incarcerated.
Yes, I heard it. No, I would do it for
Not in
parties and
prison, but in the community.
birthdays.
Mhm.
Yeah, birthdays.
So you
know,
celebrate
New
with pot.
Year's. Yes, like liquor. People celebrate with liquor. That's how I would. I'm not a big drinker. I've never done heroin. I've never done cocaine. I've never done any of that for celebration. So my go-to would be I would smoke weed lightly.
So when you're out, besides being on probation again, what's going to keep you from recreating with pot? Will you? Do you intend
Yes,
to?
Yes, I do intend to. I intend to help others. I intend to help others and be there for others that don't have people there for them. People there to give them advice, and people there just to spend time with them if they need it from them using.
So with the time, you have remaining there in the facility, I would really encourage you to ask about a fatherhood or a parenting program, because you've been out of your son's life for a tremendous amount of time, and you've got to, really reconnect in a way that he can trust that you're going to be there for him. And he's going to have a lot of feelings to process about you being away. So taking a parenting program will help you prepare to be able to handle his feelings, take responsibility for the way he feels, and make amends. So talk to the counselor there about a parenting or a fatherhood program.
Okay, I will.
I have no more questions,
Thank you,
Mr. Chair.
Paul, no questions. Just a couple of just clarifying things for me. So when you were interviewed, you said you had no drug problem, right?
Yes.
That included your smoking marijuana. It wasn't a problem. I want to be clear.
Yeah. Yeah.
And now you do see it as a problem.
Now I what?
And now you do see it as a problem, correct? Is that correct?
Yes, because I want to help others. I want to talk to them to not use.
Wait a minute, but
using is.
Did I hear you wrong? Did you just share with my colleague that you were going to recreationally use marijuana when you got out because it's legal?
No, I didn't. No, I didn't say that. No,
You didn't say that? That's what I thought I heard say. I'm sorry. I misunderstood you. That's what I thought I heard you say. You're not going to use it, and instead you're going to try to counsel other young people not to do drugs.
Yes.
All right. The federal charges, what was up with those federal charges?
My family was doing bad. We was working and it wasn't enough, the bills. And my brother he passed away. And when we was cleaning out his room, he left a firearm in his bedroom. And to help pay the bills, I sold the firearm and I got in trouble for it.
And that's how you got charged and you did time for that?
Yes, yes.
How much time did you do?
I did 27 months for that. And then when I discharged, the state, my probation violated me and they made me do a year on top of that. So I kind of did federal time and state time for that.
I guess I didn't go with the story that it was your brother's gun.
It didn't matter. It was still violation of probation, I guess, felon in possession of a firearm. So since I already had a felony, I was in the possession of it, regardless if it was my brother's gun or not.
Oh, and then you became an
It was
unlicensed
good
firearm dealer.
Right.
I would say good intentions, bad choices.
Thank you. Okay, I don't have any other questions. Panelmember Turner? Thank you for answering my question.
So it was a fascinating conversation with Mr. De Jesus. I appreciated his honesty with respect to, the DRs and his drug use. It's disappointing that with this much time incarcerated, he hasn't completed more programs. And in fact, sabotaged himself around year 4. He clearly, I guess, wasn't ready for it. And up to a month ago, may still not be ready for it. So between the offense being committed on probation, the 9 DRs, and his inadequate program completion, it's a deny for me.
Mr. I also concur.
So my reasons would be nature and circumstance, offense on probation, poor institutional adjustment, inadequate program participation, and evidence of offender change.
So that's the nature of circumstance of offense, poor performance while on probation and community release, that you said?
Offense on probation, not poor performance.
Offense, or an offense.
Inadequate program participation and evidence of offender change, and poor institutional adjustment.
Okay. If I read it right, correct me, please. In the case of Jonathan De Jesus, inmate number 352-060, there's a motion to deny discretionary parole for the following reasons: nature and circumstances of the current offense committed while on probation, and or parole community release, inadequate evidence of offender change, inadequate institutional program participation, and poor institutional adjustment. Do I have a second? All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Okay, Mr. De Jesus, I'm sorry, but today you have not been given the discretionary parole. We would probably recommend that you get some additional programming.
This hearing was so ridiculous and so just laughable, which I really enjoyed the way that Nancy Turner, and we'll go over who she is during this unpacking, handled this hearing, that I basically forgot why he was even locked up to begin with. And we forget that he took a man's life. And he took a man's life. Him and 4 other people were implicated on this. They threw a rock through a man's car window while it was driving because that man, quote, disrespected them. And he's not a child when he does this. He was 29 at the time. And it's just, I don't need to explain it. We saw the hearing. We saw who he is. His own parole hearing, he comes in unprepared, completely unprepared. And I've been watching many of these hearings, and the parole board called him out on it. Most do show up with at least something written down. And he shows up and he just is mumbling. Finally, he gets to how he's sorry about. And can you imagine being locked up and not actually feeling bad that you took a man's life? Or it's not the first thing that you say. And they say, well, why didn't you plan anything? Oh, I don't know. I'm in here by myself. And it's like, dude, the one thing that you have more than any of us is time. All you have is time. And the idea that you cannot invest the time in your own freedom, that's enough. Like, that's just enough said there. It is so despicable and just disgusting. And then on top of it, they give him just an 8-year sentence. I know it was a 20-year sentence, but it's all suspended except for the 8. And some might say, well, he threw the rock through a windshield. It's different, and he took a plea deal. It wasn't like he used a weapon. Well, it is a weapon, but I don't know. Let's find out the details of it before we comment more. So, and thank you, Richard, for dropping this info. So they arrested a 4th suspect, Bridgeport, man hit by brick. The 4th suspect wanted in connection with the homicide or the death of the 41-year-old Bridgeport man was struck by a brick in July has been arrested. Jonathan De Jesus, 29, surrendered to Bridgeport police Monday and was charged with first-degree manslaughter. So that was the charge, first degree. The 3 other suspects listed here are also facing first-degree manslaughter charges. Each had a bond of $250K. Martinez, Vargas, and Fasecta admitted throwing objects to the 1999 Jeep Cherokee in July 16th because they said the occupants had disrespected them. However, they said they did not throw the brick that killed the 41-year-old, the Post said. Morales was a passenger in the Jeep Cherokee, which was on Jane Street, when several people threw rocks, a brick, and a metal pipe at the vehicle. This is not like a bunch of people are just like throwing a brick and oops, what happened? As you can see here, they were throwing stuff with the intent of killing him. This is not. Which was on Jane. The several people threw rocks or brick in a metal pipe at the vehicle. Morales was struck in the side of the head by a brick and later died of his injuries. The 4 suspects were quickly identified and arrested and were prepared and submitted to the state's attorney office for review. All 4 arrest warrants for the back state attorneys. The arrests represent solid police work in the investigation. Perez praised the Detective Bureau for their service. Of course they did. I think the detectives work so hard to lock these people up, and then they get these little sentences. And he had a low risk score. Are we surprised? He has all of these failed supervisions. He's basically a joke. He has write-ups in prison. He does illegal substances less than a month before his hearing, and he gets a low risk score. How can you make this stuff up, right? The brilliant PhDs with their algorithms, probably straight out of Harvard. So that these arrests have been some comfort. The Morales family, they're responsible. Okay. And then we fast forward here. It says that he took the plea deal. He pled guilty to manslaughter. And the judge will impose an 8-year prison sentence. And, I guess this was a difficult one. If they went to trial, how would they prove who threw the rock and what would they? So, but I wouldn't be surprised if he would have gotten a sentence like that anyways. But it's going to take more time to see more of these hearings to understand really how they handle the homicide cases in Connecticut. But it was outside of that, and the fact that he seemed to show absolutely no remorse and had a terrible hearing, it was, I thought, funny. I think the parole board thought it was funny too. He really couldn't help himself but to stop just lying. Really just an habitual liar. And of course the classic, but I want to help people. I just want to get out and be a coach and help people. It's like, okay, yeah, sure you do. So let's go over who the board members are, because I rather enjoyed them. I thought that they were quite, it was assigned to Nancy Turner, and I thought she handled this quite brilliantly. So let's see. Nancy Turner is a full-time board member. Miss Turner was appointed by the Connecticut Board of Pardons and Paroles as a full-time member in 2017, so she's been here quite a while. Prior to joining the board, she coordinated a statewide effort to address the needs of substance-exposed infants and their families at Advanced Behavioral Health, Inc., and served as Director of Offender Risk Reduction, the Connecticut Coalition Against DV, where she also chaired as a Connecticut DV Violent Facility Review Committee. Previously, Ms. Turner worked in Washington, D.C. for the International Association of Chiefs of Police as a senior program manager. Oh, she's into her programs. During her 14 years with IACP, she managed a series of federal grants to set standards and policy guide police response and investigation of various crimes, including homicide, stalking, human trafficking, sexual assault, and gun violence. I mean, she's got an impressive track record, I would say. Definitely better than Mr. Kelsey being a physical therapist. Ms. Turner developed and delivered leadership training programs for major city, state, rural campus enforcement executives. Ms. Turner taught on the faculty of George Washington University from 1990 to 2005. And previously lobbied Congress for National Coalition Against DV. She earned a bachelor's degree and a master's from Georgia. And let's see, we also, so I mean, that's impressive. I enjoy her candor and her interview style. Mike Holt. Let's see, Mike. So I thought it was Mike that showed up, that he said his name was Mike, but I do not. Maybe it's Michael. Ah, yes. So we also had Michael at the hearing, who was, I think, the older sounding gentleman. So he was appointed to the Pardon Paroles full-time member in 2019. Prior to that, he was as a certified teacher, he taught 8th grade, United States history. I mean, that's definitely, he was an 8th grade teacher. History teacher in middle school from 2009 to 2019. He earned his degree at Manchester Community College. I mean, that's just that is surprising to me. That's imagine. Okay, it's surprising. Okay, so Mr. Pohl was appointed in 1986 to the Connecticut Alcohol and Drug Commission by Governor Williams O'Neill due to his experience and knowledge in the prevention and treatment of alcohol. While the CADC Commission, Mr. Paul interacted with many community-based treatment programs, as well as many Connecticut Department of Correction addiction services. Okay, so this is where his experience really comes into play. He's the executive director of Pathfinder Association in Manchester, where he began his own personal recovery. So he is. This is our recovery. This is our Mr. Marabella, or Keith Jones guy. Addiction 1984. For the past 35 years, Mr. Paul has worked with many people seeking recovery, in most recent years with people recovering from opioid addiction. Mr. Paul is also the Justice of Peace for 25 years. So he's also very experienced, and it's got to be as patient as a saint to have been teaching history middle school. And I guess now you can see that with the way that he answered or he asked the question about the addiction, being addicted to marijuana. And then Rodriguez. Sergio Rodriguez. That was a he. Mr. Rodriguez was appointed by the Connecticut Board of Pardon and Paroles in May 2023, so he's relatively new. And he was previously employed with New Haven Board of Education, a restorative coach. He is passionate about his work with some Connecticut's most vulnerable children and families. I do like that two of them are like really seem to be like pro, victim and children, right? Having a lot of experience doing that. So it's going to be interesting to see how they all handle these cases. He brings over 40 years of experience in substance abuse treatment, general social services, criminal justice, and re-entry employment services to his appointment on the board. He is humbled and honored to serve as a board member. Okay, that was really great that I got to see that. I thought that the hearing, that they handled it quite well, and they sent him packing. It's the guy's making a mockery of the system, in my opinion, and really just showed just no maturity, growth. What was he trying to do? He was trying to convince them that he can't get anything inside there. There's only help for him outside. It's like, wow, really, man? You can't. He's like putting down the teachers. They're too busy. It was just, what a joke. I do wish they would reprimand him a little bit more, but I think they handled it great. It was funny, and they did a good job. Anyways, keep you posted on these hearings. Thank you, Richard, again, and let me know in the comment section if you do like this stuff or not. It takes a lot of work. So with that,